Hello and welcome to another edition of the Crypto Club and Digital Assets Weekly Catch-Up on Zoom. It is Sunday the 23rd of February 2025 and it's been another week of lots of things happening in the crypto world. We may get to discuss some of these today, but certainly the BYBIT hack, which is the largest crypto hack to have taken place ever, involving what's estimated around about $1.4 billion worth of crypto being stolen. Been quite a major thing this week. In the meme coin space, Trump coin continues to settle down after hyping up over the last few weeks. It's dropped down. And the other presidential coin, which is Libra, which was launched with the support of the Argentine president, has kind of totally dropped off the scene. So we may discuss these this week, or we may cover something completely different. It really depends upon who comes along. And each week we talk about whatever the audience want to talk about. So whether that's blockchain, crypto, DeFi, NFTs, ICOs, STOs, TGEs, lots of other three-letter acronyms. It's all down to the audience. And that audience might include crypto novices who are keen to understand what some of these terms are, or crypto experts who are developing their own projects or working for crypto companies already. So with that, let's see who's going to come and join us today. Hey, Daniel, good evening. And Annie, welcome back, Annie.
Hello.
Always good to see the regulars. We've got Gabriella as well. Hey, Gabriella.
Hello.
And we've got someone who's staying quiet at the moment. Daniel, hello.
Gary, hello, mate. How you doing? You all right?
I'm good. I put a post out earlier on about the biggest crypto hack ever this week with BYBIT, where it's like something like $1.4 billion worth of crypto was stolen, which was rather eventful, particularly as it allegedly, or it came from their cold wallet, which is interesting. So maybe we'll discuss that a little bit more later. Stuart, good evening as well, or good morning in your case.
It's a brilliant sunny morning here, so thank you.
You're just saying that to upset everyone who's in England, where it's cold, wet, and miserable right now.
No, this time of year, I can't believe that.
It is, as we know it, English weather. So,
English weather, suicide weather, yes.
That's why I always love it. Working with South Africans and Australians, this is the most depressing time of the year for them. That they really get upset, and they've all got their seasonal anomaly, seasonal affective disorder lamps up and everything. So
Right.
it's always good fun. How are things with you anyway, Stuart, apart from the sun being really nice? Keeping busy?
Yeah, just keeping busy. Wondering how that money was stolen from a cold wallet, but I wish I was that smart.
Yeah, I was reading something about it, and it was kind of quite interesting. I've not got into the depths of it yet, but it would appear that it wasn't actually the wallet itself that was compromised, but the smart contract associated with it. And so
Right.
it would appear that
So that's the master smart contract.
yeah, so it would
Yeah.
appear that someone got in, modified that smart contract in some way. And this is where it astounds me that people will secure the crypto keys, but not put the smart contracts to the same level of security. But if you compromise the smart contract, which is the software that effectively manages a lot of the stuff around there, then that's a real vulnerability. So I'm going to be reading up a little bit about it during the week. But yeah, it sounds like the smart contract was compromised. And also the signature or signatories, because it was a multi-sig wallet in some way.
Yeah, the
seem to
signatures are
have been
just
spoofed.
basically, they're just keys,
Yeah.
the six. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people think of them as signatures and they're not. They're probably 64-digit keys.
Exactly. So in this case, I think it was a multi-sig wallet, which just means that if it's a 512 byte signature in total, then 128 of it might have been with person A, 128 with person B, and so on, which still isn't great. The multi-sig's got some weaknesses, particularly on the Bitcoin network, I think, where you can actually spot multi-sig wallet addresses, if I remember correctly, because they do actually start with certain prefix, which is not great, because as soon as you know that, you know straight away what's part of the security model is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mind you, on one of our Telegram channels, one of the users put in his seed phrase for his wallet when asked what his wallet address was.
I see that a lot lately. I see it certainly, and it happens almost every week.
Mm.
That if I post the recording of this session on YouTube, which I do each week, and invariably there'll be a post up from someone to say, "Hey, great episode, blah 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 blah. Can anyone help me transfer this amount? Here's my seed phrase, blah 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 blah." And I actually think now that hackers are intentionally sending messages out like that with the aim of anyone who responds back trying to help obviously knows a little bit about crypto and therefore become
Yep.
a target in their own right. So this is why I always say to people, if you see any messages like that, don't even reply to them, because as soon as you do, you're acknowledging that you know something about that space.
Right, but this Nigerian said I'd win the lottery if I did that.
You're not going to win, because I met his sister and we're going to end up with billions of dollars that she's trying to get out of the country at the moment, and she just needs a
That's
friend
right,
to
yeah.
do it. Yep,
Oh,
absolutely.
yeah. Just give me your bank account. Yeah, got it.
Exactly right. So, Daniel, just popping back to you for a moment. Anything interesting? You learning stuff in the crypto world still, particularly with the insurance connections and that? Oh, Daniel's gone quiet. This is always good. We can be having a conversation. Whenever I name check somebody, they always go, "Oh, he's speaking to me." Go on, Annie. You've got your camera on. You got any questions for this week?
Yes, two questions. So just as you were saying about the security issue, because blockchain is meant to create a more secure environment.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of getting curious now, how is it more secure if it is just as easily hacked, just like any other bank account that anyone might have? So that is my first question.
Can I quickly answer that one?
Go for it.
I've yet to see any examples of a blockchain network being hacked. However, you do see wallets being hacked, you see smart contracts being hacked. So that's a little bit like saying, well, I've got a bank account with HSBC or whatever, and someone has broken into one of their cash machines. Does that mean their entire network's compromised? And the answer, of course, is no. So what you tend to find is that with crypto hacks, they're usually either at the end user side, so like on my wallet, on my machine, or my whatever, or they're on the smart contract level, which is managed by somebody or a group of people. It's not usually the blockchain itself that has been hacked. So the blockchain as a network layer tends to be pretty safe. It tends to be that any hacks are against either the individual's wallet, and as Stuart was mentioning, people giving their seed phrases. Well, quite often what people do is they have a seed phrase and they'll do something like they'll save it to a Word document on their computer, and they'll call it, Annie's secret seed phrase list or something. So if the computer gets hacked, the hackers got access to them. Or sometimes people think they're being smart, and they'll do something like they'll use Gmail to send an email to themselves, but they won't actually send it. They'll leave it in their draft folder. That is just such an obvious one these days that a lot of hackers will just go in, and if they get access to someone's computer, first thing they'll do is they'll check the draft folder and this kind of thing. So, my opinion is that the actual blockchains as a network layer, that they are secure. It's the endpoints that tend to get hacked. I don't know, Stuart, you got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, the blockchain itself is usually very secure. What you have is, if you understand what blockchain is just data that's put into a block. And the block has its own security because you do hashes and so on, and you don't have to send the address, what have you. Nearly every single hack that I've ever seen has been wallets. So people have been hacked because the smart contract has been compromised, or the wallet itself has been compromised by someone giving out a seed phrase. I haven't seen anyone get into a blockchain and read it, and then you'd still have to look at the signatures, you still have to unencrypt it. There's all sorts of things you'd have to do. So it's like being robbed at the ATM doesn't make the bank insecure.
Yes, true, true. But there's another thing about the blockchain as well, is where there's a lot of people earning their money by mining.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
that means that they actually gets to know a lot of how the blockchain actually works. If they were in the future becoming, one of those people who would hack, I was kind of curious on that point as well.
Right? No, the way that works is if you're running a node or a series of nodes, you would have to typically know more than 51, you'd have to control more than 51% of the nodes in order to get enough information to actually start getting into the chain and hacking it and controlling it. Because you've got random nodes or randomization of the messages or blocks to different nodes. The nodes have to reach a consensus on the algorithm that you put there, and that's maybe 5, 6, 7 nodes, and they're changing all the time. But if you control over 51% of them, then you could theoretically do a brute force attack.
Annie, it's probably worth adding as well. You're expressing the concern there that because people might have been involved in the blockchain at some point, that they'd have a good understanding of the security and everything. Well, a lot of blockchains are actually open source. And by that, I mean that the software, which actually describes how the protocol works, how the security works, is accessible to everybody. They can download it from GitHub or whatever,
Right.
And they can reverse engineer it. Yeah, and the whole argument actually about open source versus closed source is that if the software is open source and everyone can see it, it then means that the community can contribute to close any gaps in it, any security risks. Whereas if you ask me to run some software where I can't see what's in it, so it's closed source and it's just like an exe file or a com file or whatever, where I've got no idea what I'm running, I've got no idea what level of security there is, that actually is a bigger security risk in some ways, because most people don't know what they're running. Whereas if it's open source, they can go through it. It's interesting, there's a chap called Andreas Antonopoulos, who's very well known in the crypto space. Can always recommend watching his videos and that. And he's a visiting lecturer at Nicosia, University of Nicosia. And he describes it as you've got the most vulnerable creature on earth is a baby that's in a total cotton wool controlled environment where no external people can get in, or disease or illness. And so they don't develop any immunity. Okay. He said, compare that to a pigeon in Trafalgar Square in London, which is probably getting bitten, attacked, exposed to all sorts of diseases and infections, and so is actually incredibly resilient. And so his argument is that by exposing a network and software to hacking and making it publicly available, it actually improves the security and improves the resilience, which I think there's something to be said for that. But we've got Ken who's joined us as well. Ken, I just wondered if you might share a view on this, particularly because I know you get quite involved in like Ethereum protocol and that. What's your thinking about security on the blockchain?
Yeah.
See now,
I just lost you there for a minute. Yeah, well, with regards to hacking.
Yeah, we're just saying that generally hacks tend to be against the wallets and the smart contracts and not against the blockchains themselves.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, all hacks are usually against the wallet being basically they call them hot wallets. So wallets that are basically online. Mm-hmm. So it's very rare. In fact, it's virtually impossible for somebody to hack your cold wallet. So if you have something like a Ledger or something like that, you won't get hacked. Though Ledger are introducing this sort of like hybrid system, so probably not the best example, but because it's the most brand aware example that everyone knows. Most hacks, yeah, it's to do with the wallets, and it's to do specifically with hot wallets. In other words, people have their seed phrases online. So, you know, it's just like exchanges. In the beginning, a lot of them just used to keep everything online, but they tend to now have just like a float, kind of operate like a shop. They'll have a float, in other words, some crypto online, but the majority of the crypto they hold will be offline, and they'll just keep it, bring it online as and when needed. So, I mean, it's just like one of the major things actually that I think happens is a lot of people don't understand the importance of their seed words or seed phrases, or don't understand how to store them, and that's where they get hacked. They click on links, that take them to some, that look real. They think they're in MetaMask. They put their details in, and somebody takes their tokens. But yeah, I mean the main kind of, so there's two going forwards. Is just going to be two solutions to this. One solution is you just store it yourself in a cold wallet. The other solution is you go with exchanges and so forth, because exchanges have become quite good in terms of storing. And they do say that they have insurance, but if you read the fine print, the insurance insures the exchange, not you. So if the exchange gets hacked, then your money is good. In other words, the insurance will pay out, so the exchange can go on. It can keep working. For example, Coinbase. But if, for example, somebody takes your phone, has your managed to SIM swap you, and then manages to get your email address. So they could go to your Coinbase account, for example. They could then enter your email address, and then when he sends out that text message for you to do your 2FA, or if you're using anything else like, I don't know, anything else that's linked to your mobile phone, they'll then be able to authenticate. And then if they steal your tokens or your money or whatever, you're not insured. Because that's happened to quite a few people, where, especially in the US, they've been SIM swapped, because it seems as if in the US, you can actually just call up your phone supply, and they'll just pair your phone number to any SIM card. Whereas I don't think it's as easy in the UK to actually do a SIM swap as it is in the US. But so that's kind of the thing is, they're insured. Yes, if they get hacked, the money will be given. They'll be able to get the insurance money and keep operating. You won't lose the money. But if you yourself get hacked, then you're not insured. And that's the main difference. But the way they advertise it is very misleading. Gives people a sense they feel, okay, I'm insured, which is kind of different.
I just want to quickly go back to the point that Ken made. He was saying that exchanges are getting better and you should use cold wallets. There is a certain irony there. The beginning of this conversation was about it being the BYBIT exchange being hacked, and it was the cold wallet, in fact, that was hacked. So quite an unusual thing. It would seem that the hacker used quite an interesting exploit, which modified the smart contract, which effectively controlled the cold wallet. So the poor cold wallet thought it was communicating with a legitimate source and so on. So yeah, there's no perfect answers.
Well,
However,
I'll push back against that, because that's not cold wallet. That is a hot wallet. That means it's online.
Yeah. So at the point
it has to have an air gap, basically.
I agree, and this is where we start coming against the whole definitional conversation again. At some point, a cold wallet has to be able to generate a signature for a transaction, and for that transaction to make it onto a blockchain, which generally means that the cold wallet, even if it's a microscopic exposure, stops being quite so cold in order for it to do the transaction.
Well, I'll say my point of view. When you get exchanges say things like that, I personally think they're inside jobs, and I'll tell you why. Because if you're using, let's say, a 5 and 3 cold wallet authentication system, so where you've got 5 cold wallets or 5 different wallets that are cold wallets. So 3 of them have to come online to basically sign it off. Um, and generally, when they do the online kind of sign offs, when they come in to sign off, the actual security wise, the actual bits and pieces actually split up anyway.
Mm.
So unless you know exactly when somebody's going to come on and how they're going to authenticate and so forth, it's kind of like you've got to have some inside knowledge for that to work. And that's why when people say exchanges have been hacked and it's been a cold wallet, I always say that's an inside job, because you need that inside information to be able to actually do it. And the whole thing about cold wallet is not online. So your wallet could never come online. And if you hack, you have to know the 5 wallets to hack. And that means going through billions and billions of combinations to get those 5 unique fingerprints to enable you to hack it. So, I mean, there's most cold wallets definitely. I mean, I haven't heard of any proper cold wallet being hacked. Even people who just don't know anything about security but just have their own cold wallet never get hacked. It's always hot wallets. And the only people who claim to have been hacked and it's cold wallets are always exchanges for some reason.
It'll be interesting to see how this one comes out, because apparently it was a single cold wallet, and it's possible that maybe BYBIT didn't use the level of security that you would perhaps hope an organization of that size to use, which, to be honest, from my experience, does not come as a surprise. I've had any number of conversations with crypto custodial providers and some small exchanges where I've been talking about things like segregation of duties, using different techniques more advanced than multi-signature addresses, and they've kind of looked at me and they've got, you know, the way people squirm a little bit because you're asking them an awkward question, and they've gone, yeah, we realize we should be doing that and we will be doing it soon, and we're reviewing our security, we can't go into it, blah 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 blah. So I have found there's been a few occasions where I agree that how you should do it is, at the very least, have a threshold signature scheme, as it's known, which is, as Ken was kind of describing, the any 3 of 5 people need to sign something as an example signature scheme. You should also have it that, depending upon the amount, it might require different people to sign it. So if it's over a certain amount, it should only be the chief finance officer plus 2 senior directors or whatever. But some companies haven't implemented this. It's fascinating, because if you go into the traditional finance world, that's exactly what they do. They've got what's known as segregation of duties, whereby individuals can't access certain things. They've got signing limits, they've got approval reviews, they've got all this. And then you go to the crypto world, and sometimes it might just be that they've got a ledger or nano wallets, and with one person, it's quite disturbing at times.
Yeah, and
But the principle, I agree with Ken. It should be threshold,
with
signature, and split.
Bybit, I was very surprised when I read about it, because I mean, they've been really, I mean, they are quite big actually. They're not really a small entity. Usually the people who get hacked are small entities where the founder will disappear
Mhm.
or something like that, go for a trip to India and apparently dies or something like that, those
Yep.
kind of things. But Bybit is it's a huge and, well, supposedly reputable exchange. So we'll have to wait and see how this one plays out. Last time I had it, they had nearly 1 billion or something like that taken.
What
So,
1.4 billion it was
oh God,
estimated.
it's going up.
And the good thing as well is it shows that they are generally a credible organization, if only because other exchanges have stepped in. So Binance has stepped in, some of the others stepped in order to provide them with emergency reserves to carry on trading. Because I think it was their Ethereum wallet that was hacked, and so they lost a load of ETH. And so I believe that some of the other exchanges have provided them with liquidity for now, so that the customers don't lose out and they can carry on trading. But yeah, as is always the case, these are things that it's always fascinating reading the reviews a few weeks later. It's a bit like aircraft accident reports. You know, you normally have to wait for a few weeks or a few months before the truth comes out and someone does a forensic analysis. And it's still disturbing at times just how basic some of the mistakes are. And that's what hackers are good at. Because ultimately the weakest link in a chain is generally not the blockchain or the technology, it's the people behind it. So.
Absolutely, yes, Gary, I agree with that. So thank you so much for that. And my second question, this probably is the one that when I asked the other day, certainly the speaker actually squirmed. So I'm kind of curious, do you think that people developed their blockchain, whatever form it is it on which cloud provider? Is it AWS? Is it Microsoft Azure? Is it Google Cloud, or their own infrastructure?
Stuart, I think, started laughing then. So, Stuart,
Yeah, I did.
Got to give you the opportunity here.
Okay. We're building ours as we build out the nodes. They're going to be on various clouds. And we've also got physical nodes as well. So depending on what your service is like as far as ISP, you either have your node in the cloud or you have it physically in a node farm. And most people have them in node farms.
Yeah. It is worth pointing out, Annie, in fact, because I've got my blockchain miner thing. In fact, it says a blockchain miner, which is technically wrong because you can't really mine blockchains. But a lot of mining rigs aren't on AWS or Azure or any of the Google things because they're not on the cloud. They are actually their own dedicated data center or their own dedicated computer system. At some point, that might well be connected to a network and that might be hosted over thing. Because this is where it's been interesting. One of the arguments around distributed ledger technology and using blockchain and crypto is that it's all on decentralized distributed systems. You know, everyone's talking about all these nodes all over the place. And then you suddenly discover that all of the nodes are all on AWS or wherever. It's like, that's
we're talking about SUI?
Could be an example. Yeah. And it shows how all of a sudden a lot of decentralized systems, a lot of distributed systems aren't actually distributed because they are actually hosted, and therefore you've got this risk that, say, AWS went offline. Obviously, that would affect an awful lot of other businesses, but that could compromise the running of some blockchains as well.
I think that is what I meant, because it obviously has its own infrastructure, right? Otherwise, you cannot have so many people connected to it somehow. So there must be a way of trying to get that. So no, thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. And we've got Elena join us as well. Hey, Elena, just want to say hi. How are things going in the metaverse these days?
Hello, all good. All good, all great. And it's very nice to be here again after a short break.
Hey, welcome back.
Thank you. May I just ask a quick question, and it is connected with something we already discussed, and everyone probably has moved on, but you know, I'm a bit slow. Could we just talk about wallets again? And do I understand it right that the only way to hack a cold wallet is when the owner gives away the seed phrase? Or are there more ways to do it? And could we talk about them, please?
Okay, so I guess we need to first of all define the different types of wallet and what wallet does to begin with. So this is why Stuart's smiling here, because he's going to see if I can pass the test here on all of it.
That's right, yeah.
Okay, so you think about
the
purpose of a wallet. Fundamentally, it's got two or three goals or functions. One is as an ability to store keys. So these are just digits, which when you look at them, they look random. The other is for them to have a bit of software in that allows you to sign a transaction with the key to prove it's an authentic transaction. And then the third thing is I think it can be used to authenticate a signature as well, because a signature which is made up of a public-private key pair, you can actually determine if a transaction has been signed correctly with a particular private key because of the public key. So a wallet effectively contains software and contains the keys, and that's about it. So we then divide into what types of wallet there are. You've got what are known commonly as hot wallets. So these might be online wallets. So they might be simply an application sitting on your mobile phone. So, a little wallet app on your phone or on your computer. They are software-defined wallets. Then there's what is known as cold wallets, and they're called cold because they're offline. So they're not generally connected to even the internet. And this is where you get physical devices like Ledger, Nano. I can't remember some of the others. There's a few others out there. They're certainly the most well-known ones. And what they provide over and above software wallets is, first of all, they're not generally connected to the internet. So if you're not connected to the internet, that reduces the threat vector of you being hacked in some way. And they only are connected to the network at the point at which you want to undertake a transaction. Okay. So we got the theory so far that hot wallets is software, usually connected via a laptop or a mobile phone, generally or online in some way. So they can be hacked by you hacking the devices that the software is running on. So, for example, if I was running a wallet on my phone, if you can work out how to hack the Android operating system and maybe install some malware or whatever, then you could compromise that wallet. That's one way of doing it. Or even easier, if you could just get hold of the seed phrase and you then know what effectively the password to the wallet is anyway, then you could hack it in that way. So hot wallets, because of the fact that they're connected to the internet, they tend to be relatively vulnerable to attack. And you attack them quite often by hacking the platform that they're on. So the laptop, the mobile phone or whatever. A cold wallet, by the very nature it's not connected to the internet normally, makes it pretty much impossible to hack. A hacker, if they can't connect to it, they can't compromise it. But what they can do is a couple of things. One is that they can spoof behavior so it looks as though they're using your wallet and they're not. So it goes back to what I said, the three functions of a wallet are to hold the keys, to sign a transaction, and to verify a transaction. Well, if they can work out a way of effectively digitally signing a transaction as though it looks like it's coming from your wallet, then that's, I think, what the BYBIT hack was. So that's kind of a compromise. So this is where it gets interesting, because I've worked with companies who've done like crypto custody, and they've been delighted to show me the level of security they've got, where they've got like a hardware device which is put into a safe, which is in an underground cavern in Switzerland with security guards all around it and everything like that. And I've gone, yeah, what do you do with the seed phrase? And they go, oh, we printed a copy of that off and it's in our drawer here. It's like, well, forget the armed guards and everything, you can be compromised. So there's a whole range of ways of getting into these things. But generally, cold wallets are thought of as being more secure because they're not online. But ultimately, the actual details of the public key and the private key are actually on the blockchain. And this is why if you've got a wallet, a physical wallet, a Nano Ledger or a Trezor or something, and you break it or you lose it, then all you need to do is you get in touch with the manufacturer, you get another wallet, and you let it know the seed phrase that you used originally, and the wallet gets recreated. And then it links to the blockchain, it resynchronizes, and it's actually the blockchain that holds all the detail about, this wallet address has got this much ETH or this much Bitcoin, this kind of thing. This is why it's funny. A lot of people think that the cryptocurrency is actually held on the wallet. It isn't. The actual amounts are held on the blockchain, and the wallet is just used as a confirmation mechanism, really. So does that go some way to answering your question, Elena?
Yes, thank you very much. Of course it does, of course. But now I'm just curious, what, like, after everything you explained, may I also ask, what would be the ways to get hold of someone's seed phrase?
Yep.
Is that to send them an email, enter your word 1, word 3 to win something?
Yeah, I quite often say, I'm not here to offer financial or investment advice. I'm not going to offer hacking advice here either. But there are certain techniques that people use. You may have heard of, there are devices called keyloggers. And these are little devices. They may be like little USB sticks or something that you plug into a computer, and it actually records the details of every key that you press. So that's a little bit like going to a bank machine and standing over the shoulder of somebody as they put their card in and they type in their PIN number. So if you've got somebody who's using a laptop, for example, that has been compromised, so it's been hacked already, hackers got some monitoring software on it to watch what they're doing, they can potentially just wait for them to log into their wallet and type in the seed phrase or whatever. Straight away, they've got access to that. That's certainly one way of doing it. Another way, as I mentioned before, people, it's bizarre. They're incredibly secure about how they hide their keys, and then they go and do something really silly with their seed phrase. So a lot of people, you're supposed to write out seed phrase on a piece of paper or something, and then they go and leave a seed phrase in their diary or something like that, so it can be physically compromised. Most people aren't dumb enough that you do something like, I've seen it in the past of, enter this quiz to find out what your IQ is type thing. And there's loads of questions in, and that used to be a way of actually compromising people's general security, because somewhere in the mix it would ask basic questions like, where were you born, what was your date of birth, and what's your dog's favorite name, or your favorite dog's name or something, which are all password type things. That tends not to be used for seed phrases, because if anyone starts saying things like, hey, what's your third word in your seed phrase, just for a laugh, to just compare, people don't fall for that usually. So there's probably lots of other ways.
They did it on our Telegram channel.
Really?
Yeah. A person from Islamabad.
Okay.
We asked for his wallet address and to DM it to us, and he sent the seed phrase on the channel, and then he wondered why he got hacked.
Yeah. That's a really good one as well, actually. Sure. Good point for Elena, that sometimes people will say, I'm having problems, can someone help me? And someone will say, oh yeah, I'll help you. If you just send me a seed phrase, I'll see what I can do to help you. Yeah. And some people are not naive enough to fall for that. The other thing is, well, it's not always seed phrases that you need. So there's a direct connection between your seed phrase and your private key and your public key. They're all connected. But if you can work out a way of logging into the wallet, then you don't need the seed phrase. So this is where you'll get it sometimes, where someone will simply do an email attack, where they'll send an email out to 1 million people or whatever saying, hi, it's Binance here. We've been compromised with our security. We request that you change your user ID or password immediately. Please log in using this link. And someone clicks on the link, and it doesn't actually go to Binance.com. It goes to some other site that looks like Binance.com, and they type in their details. The hacker can see them typing in the details, then logs into the actual account, immediately changes the password and then tells the initial person you've got your password wrong and logs them off and forgets about it. And I know somebody who that happened to, and they lost, I think it was 8 Bitcoin, because they fell for it, and they said they were stupid. It was moments after they clicked enter and they thought, oh no, I shouldn't have done that. And then they logged back in and they couldn't log in, and they went onto a blockchain explorer and they watched their Bitcoin being transferred out of their wallet. So, Elena, does that offer you a primer on a few of the ways of hacking without turning this into a how to hack other people's wallet session?
Well, I can only say that hopefully that happened quite a while ago when 8 Bitcoins were not as big as an amount of money as it is today.
Yes. Yeah. Fortunately, it was still worth a substantial sum at the time, if I remember correctly. But yeah.
Well, just there is one downside of self-hosting, basically, because, as you say, Bitcoins or cryptos become really, valuable. It's the wrench attack. So somebody knows you've got a cold wallet, they can just obviously hit you over the head with a wrench, or basically offer, basically threaten you effectively and say, look, can you? And that is one of the downsides. Whereas if you have it professionally managed, then obviously that can't or should not be able to happen. So that's what another reason why those with or high net worth individuals who have a lot of crypto kind of moving away from self-hosting, in other words, keeping their own cold wallet with them. Obviously, they'll probably have some amount in their cold wallet, but there's that risk to personal harm.
It's one of those things as well that I'm involved in a project where we're looking at that kind of thing, because what you don't want is for something like your CFO to be taken hostage and literally gun pointed at head, and they put in their details and everything. So organizations are looking at threshold signatures rather than multi-signature addresses, plus overrides on that as well to prevent things. Because I think, wasn't there a case a few weeks ago, some French person who was kidnapped or something, or his family was kidnapped? I think
it was co-founder of Ledger.
Was it founder of Ledger? Yeah, okay. Who of all the people about security, he's probably going to know quite a lot.
Yeah, I think they kidnapped his wife and kid or whatever. I can't remember exactly, and then somebody was sharing that they cut his finger or his hand. It was something really bad in the and they were asked for a ransom, and eventually the special police, the equivalent to SWAT team, in France, they managed to track all of that in real time, and they catch the whole gang that did that. There's quite a few of them, actually. Super scary stuff.
Yep. So there are always ways and means, and
we probably already spoke about the hacking of BYBIT, yeah?
Yep.
I mean, that is really sophisticated, I have no doubt. Look, it's a state-sponsored attack, okay? State-sponsored attacks have a lot of resources, and that includes following people. So if they want to target, they'll put agents on the ground, and they will target the people that they know are senior people, or they potentially even with someone inside colluding that can identify who are the individuals. It's another thing that could have happened as well. And again, I don't know, but I'm just saying what could potentially have happened. And if they are monitoring these people with the resources that they have, you go to a Starbucks, you connect your laptop to the Wi-Fi or whatever, your phone, and that's it. So easy to actually mask a Wi-Fi for this type of people, and they overpower the Wi-Fi in Starbucks, and you are actually logging into their router that they have in the backpack, So because there's a powerful antenna and so on, it takes a long time to explain how some of these attacks happen, okay? And then they just over time, they have time. Over time, they start to understand who are the people. Yeah. And from the moment they enter your phones or your laptop or whatever, then it's very easy to serve whatever UI they want. And then you're signing messages thinking that you are actually on safe and authorizing the transaction, but it's totally fake behind the scenes. That could have been one of the things that could have happened. I stopped following it, but it is definitely a super sophisticated attack, and I have no doubt that this included probably agents on the ground, following people, trying to see the moves, who they are, etc., etc. It's not just a link. Yeah, click here, and if it is, then I don't know, maybe by being
It wasn't.
Yes,
it wasn't. They had the cold wallet in safe custody. So there's a lot more to it than is coming out at the moment.
Yeah, I bet. So I think if it was even the cold wallet, it doesn't mean much, because at some point they need to use some laptop. Okay, or some phone, some device to be able to sign the transaction. Yeah, so they need to bring that cold wallet, connect it to whatever laptop, and then they need to sign the transaction, 2-3 people on safe. And if then those devices are compromised, they prepare that really well. As soon as they see a wallet coming online, yeah, they will start to serve you a different user interface. Yeah. On their laptop, the attacker can actually see every single user interface and how you're interfacing with it in real time.
Yeah,
Jay-Z makes it. Sorry, I was quickly going to point out as well for Elena's benefit there. Jay-Z made a really good point there, what's known as a man-in-the-middle attack. So you can get devices. I think a favorite one used to be the pineapple. And this is a device that it broadcasts and it simulates as though it's a Wi-Fi hotspot. So you can actually configure it to make it look as though it's a Starbucks Wi-Fi, something like that, or a railway line Wi-Fi. And people log into it without thinking any better of it. Well, all of a sudden, when you're now routing through someone else's router, which has got software on to intercept everything, that's another interesting compromise. Sorry, Ken, you were about to say that.
Well, I was just going to say that on Twitter, basically, apparently it was, Twitter obviously is not the best place for information, but they reckon that the hack happened when they moved the ETH from the cold wallet to a warm wallet. So the main thing that a lot of people going on about in Twitter is why so much ETH was being put into a warm wallet. Why didn't they have several different warm wallets to split the ETH around? So it seems they took whatever the 1 billion worth of ETH and transferred it basically to the warm wallet, which is an online wallet. And that's where the attacker swooped in and took the tokens.
Yeah, the people on Twitter don't know how exchanges run. So most of that, you put it into a wallet and then you transfer it from there. You don't pull out $200 into that wallet, $200 into that. You'd be doing it for the next month and a half. You take it into one wallet and the smart contract comes in and then it takes it out and distributes it.
Yeah, that sounds pretty.
Yeah, but that's the problem, isn't it? Obviously, it's not a safe situation. It's obvious, they took 1.4.
Well, it isn't. They found a security problem now, yes.
Whatever, yeah, they found it.
Yeah.
But if you had, I don't know, each cold wallet with only 5,000 ETH, yeah, I know it takes longer, but, it's safer. So it's really convenience versus proper security processes. If I was in charge of that security, I would never allow to have in one wallet 403,000 ETH. It's just crazy, It doesn't matter if it's exchange or not. These are security principles, yeah? You split 5,000 on each one, and it takes time. You have a box of, 20 of them. Doesn't really matter how many it is. Go one by one, that's it. Do a first transaction of 5,000. You reach the destination you want. Okay, we're safe. Let's do the next 5,000. They can only take 5,000 each time, yeah? And then you stop the process. That's it. That's how you minimize the attack surface. If you have everything on one, oh, it's gonna hurt if somebody finds that compromise, you know.
I think it comes back to a point I was making before, JT, that there are times where I've been having conversations with organizations and it's surprising just how lax their security can be. And you would assume, exactly as you say, that they'd split across multiple devices, that they'd use threshold signatures, that they'd use multi-factor and multi-sig and a whole range of other things. And then suddenly you discover that some really big exchanges are using a single wallet with a single thing on it. So yeah.
They forget one thing, Gary, yeah? And you know what that one thing is.
Is it humans?
There you go.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how much security you put in place. Yeah, there's always the human factor, and that's why you minimize. You split, yeah, that attack surface into segmented scenarios. It doesn't matter what you're thinking, but what you're doing. But in this case, you segment into several wallets, you know, smaller wallets. Yeah. That's it. One at a time, the transaction.
All good fun. So, Elena, hopefully you've had an introductory course there on hacking techniques and methods, and hopefully we've not given too much specific away, but it comes back to ultimately about how it's really useful for everyone to be aware of these things, because then we can protect ourselves as well. And so don't click on links. Always store your keys somewhere safe, and recognize as well that the keys actually, even though you think they're lovely and safe on a physical wallet which is stored away somewhere, actually that wallet can be recreated, and that sometimes happens as well. So just be mindful of that.
Can I just quickly ask another question? And yeah, about cold wallets. You know what? I was chatting to someone last week, and about just cryptocurrencies in general, and they highly recommended a cold wallet of a brand that I've never heard before, and all my knowledge about this comes from these Zoom meetings.
Okay.
So over my years here, I've heard Trezor and Ledger. Well, sometimes we speak about them, but I've never heard about a wallet CoinKite, and they highly recommended it as the wallet, the cold wallet to go. And I would like if you share your opinion, please. Is that just one another brand as good as everything else?
I've not heard of
Just
that.
type it, please, on the chat.
Yeah.
I can have a quick look, okay?
Of course.
I certainly saw something of an explosion of wallets a few years ago. I think it was a blockchain event in London, and there was lots of new wallet providers who I'd never heard of. So that they can be legitimate.
I think this wallet is only for Bitcoin.
Is that right, Gabriella?
If correct, is you can use it only for as cold wallet, just for Bitcoin, not for another.
Just check.
Leno, one of the things that you have to look at is how much you're actually storing. If you're storing millions of US dollars or what have you, then I would say that you probably need to get some expert advice. If you've got a couple of $1,000 in there and it's not going to make any difference to your life if you lose it, go with anything that you feel comfortable with.
Right.
It's a really good point. So I'll often say to people that it really depends what you're trying to protect and why. And to be honest, I've seen some systems that are so incredibly complicated in using them that the risk is that you'll forget how to do it, and so you'll lose your crypto anyway. So the biggest threat to people's crypto quite often is not being hacked. It's of them forgetting how to access their crypto in the first place. You know, and I've had that at times where at some point I may have set up a wallet, I'll have stored the seed phrase somewhere, and then I've played with it for a while and I've forgotten about it. And then months or a year or so later, I'm thinking, I'm sure I had a wallet that had something, and you just can't remember anymore, and you haven't got the details. So actually, it's people forgetting things and losing things, which is why I'm really keen to look at how we can make security simpler without compromising the security. But Elena, coming back to your point, I pulled up CoinKite a moment ago. It looks like they've got a whole range of devices on there. I'm not familiar with them, but equally there has been something of a growth in this space. So it may be that they're legitimate.
Okay.
Well, I'd certainly be looking at some things, and it's not immediately obvious from their sites. Let's have a look at one of them. As to what security protocols they're using. As Gabriella says, that it's only for Bitcoin, which is one thing. But is it using?
Is it a good thing or not so good thing?
Well, it's not a good thing if you use more than Bitcoin, for example. So some people, have multiple coins or multiple tokens and that. So if you're only into Bitcoin, then it could be ideal for that. See, it's using NFC on one of them. I'm just quickly looking through the kind of the description on the website now. I'll just quickly share it. NFC is fairly secure. So again, any time that you're communicating between devices, it is harder, but not impossible. It's harder to hack a piece of wire. So if you've got a device connected to your computer via a piece of wire, that's less easily hacked than using NFC or Bluetooth or whatever. But even then, there are companies who specialize in making USB cables that have got little devices in either end where, again, they're hacking or whatever. So I always get nervous with anything that's using something like NFC. Connecting via USB-C, that can be compromised. So I'm not seeing anything where it's saying what security standards it complies to, which is interesting. Usually you'll find most companies will say that they're using FIPS 140 level 2 or level 3 even, but there aren't many of those. But this doesn't even mention things, so I don't know. It's probably worth checking into. Might be legitimate, but I'm not familiar with it.
Okay. Well, thanks. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And then the other thing as well, quickly last little bit of hygiene I was going to offer. Things like if you do buy cold wallets, whether it's Trezor or Nano or Ledger or whatever, only ever buy it from the manufacturer directly. Don't go and buy it on eBay or Amazon or through a reseller or get a second-hand one or one that's been opened, because again they can be compromised. So JT, you're about to say something.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was also that when you are in doubt, just stick really to the known brands. Yeah, I mean, why would you go and try something else if you're not really aware? And then you need to do research. You need to ask a lot of people, and just stick with what it's known. Yeah, and if you become like really rich with Bitcoin, 1,000, 2,000, then think about other solutions like Stuart said. You think it was Stuart that said, just more expensive solutions, offsite and all these type of things. There are companies that help you to do that, but just stick with that and just be careful. Just because you see it on a website, a review, sometimes these guys pays for reviews, and there's a lot of dodgy wallets from many different countries. I don't want to mention them, but I think you probably can guess,
Absolutely. Right, folks, we're pretty much on the hour now. So really appreciate everyone contributing various thoughts and inputs on that. Really interesting thing, if only because it was forcing me to remember some basics around wallets and what I actually do in there. So thank you everyone for joining today, and thanks for the questions. Elena, Annie, Gabriella, thank you as always for the interesting insights in there, and Ken and JT and Stuart. So we'll have to leave it there, I'm afraid. So hopefully speak to you all again soon. For everyone who's watching afterwards, be safe. Do look after your crypto wallets. Don't share your seed phrases, and don't click on links. Definitely. Right. Have a great day, everybody. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.